Hello everyone! I am using this screencast to show you how to create a timeline with Read Write Think. So we're going to use this program to create our reading timeline today. And before you get started on the computer, it's important that you have had an opportunity to draft this in your reader's notebook so you know the order in which you want to put your books and the years you want to put your books and which books you want to highlight in your timeline. So when you're ready to get started with this on the computer, you're going to log into D2L and find the Read Write Think timeline generator. Now when you click this, it's going to open up in a new tab and you'll see this orange button that says Get Started. You'll go ahead and click that and it's going to open up your timeline generator. Now it opens in a new link and it opens kind of small, so I'm going to make mine larger. And you'll see that timeline organizes information by date, time, or an event. So you can click these to see examples, but the one that probably makes the most sense for our reading timeline would be to do it by date. So the first thing you need to do is enter your name. And then you're going to want to give your title a name, or your reading timeline a title. So mine is just going to be My Reading Timeline. Nothing fancy there. And then you'll get started. Okay, so now you'll see you have your timeline here, and you have the start of your timeline on this side, and then the end of your timeline on the right-hand side. So you're going to click the very beginning of your timeline, and you're going to want to choose probably the year that you were born. So for me, that would be 1988, and the description is when I was born. I don't have a picture to put in this, and I don't really have a description for that, so I'm just going to click my check mark button, and then it creates my little box, and now I have an opportunity to choose where I want to put it. Because you're going to have a lot of things on your reading timeline, I would suggest moving it over as much as you can here. And then I clicked it to lock it in place. On the other end of my timeline, I need to create another event, and I'm going to label that 2014, and that is the present. That is where my timeline is currently at because, whoopsies, didn't mean to do that. That's where my timeline is going to end at. So I'm going to click check, and I'm going to lock this in place as well. Now you'll see right here, this box is a little bit behind your reading timeline title, and that's okay. For whatever reason, the actual screen of this comes out a little bit shorter or smaller than what you're going to see on paper. So if at any time you want to see what your timeline is actually looking like, if you click the finish button, it's not going to finish it, but it'll give you this example of what it looks like right now. And you'll see I have my title and my name right here, but then I also have a little bit more space than what that screen just showed me. So as you're creating entries for your timeline, if you want to move them down a little bit than what that screen shows right here, that's okay. You'll still be able to see those titles in the final timeline. So now you're going to want to go ahead and find images to go along with your title. So I'm going to go, I'm going to minimize this for now, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Google. And I'm going to go to Images. And one of the books I know I want on my reading timeline is The Mouse and the Motorcycle. This book is important to me as a reader because my dad and I always used to read it together before bed. And this was the first kind of chapter book I remember reading, but I couldn't read it fast enough, so my dad and I had to alternate pages so he could help me finish the book up. So this is a cover. This is the actual cover of the book that I had. It looks like now they have much more fancy covers than the one that I had growing up, but this is the one that fits for my timeline. So I clicked on my image and it pulled it up, and I'm going to right click it and click Save Picture As. Now you'll see I have already created a reading timeline folder to organize my pictures in, and I actually already have this picture in there, but I will go ahead and re-add it and just replace it so you can see. Okay, now you're going to go back to your timeline. And I was probably, maybe 8 years old, maybe 7 or 8 years old when my dad and I read this story together. So I'm going to find that place on the timeline, and I'll go ahead and enter my year, and then my title. And then I'm going to give it a short description. Okay. After your description, you're going to choose your image. And then it's going to let you kind of edit. So you can make your image bigger or smaller. And you can rotate your picture if needed. In this case, I don't need to do that. When you have your picture the way you want it, you'll press OK. And then you'll double check to make sure everything is how you want it. And when it is, you'll press your check mark. And then you'll be able to place this on your timeline. Now after you go through and your timeline is finished, you'll click Finish, and then talk with your teacher about what she would like you to do. You have a couple different options. You can save the draft where you can edit it later. Save your final copy, which you can't make changes again. You could send your final, maybe email it to someone, or you could even print your final draft from here. So that is what you need to know about creating your reading timeline. I look forward to seeing the books and the titles and the memories that you put onto your reading timeline.